Oh no, I accidentally, oh no. Let me go back to this. I have to make this, it looks like, how do I make it available to, when I set it up, 1 second, I'm trying to do two things at once. It looked like I just set it up available to me. Maybe, sure, why is, okay, public. Okay.
There we
Does
go.
everybody see us live? I'm not able to. Oh, there we are. Do you guys see yourself on here too?
I've got my Facebook open. Let me go look. Where are you broadcasting to?
My personal page. Oh, I see you. Okay. Let's see how it looks. Hi, everybody. This is my first time to do live to Facebook, so bear with me.
So I think that the link that we sent out was to the Empire Life page.
Oh yeah, let me share it there too.
Okay, because I have a friend who just contacted me and said she can't find it.
Okay. Hey everybody. And I think since it's public, all of you guys can share it out too. Let me share this. The group.
I'll be right back.
And I'm assuming that we can see comments if we're looking at it on the Facebook. Okay, I'm sharing everywhere, sharing to page, sharing to group. See, are you guys able to see it on yours? I can share it to your timelines too.
How do we do that?
If you go to my Facebook wall on my personal page and you see that it's live, you can click on the share button and then share it to your timeline, to your friends' timelines, or.
Okay.
I didn't just miss a call from anybody on here, right? Someone just tried to call me. Let's see. Are you guys all able to see it? Yay, so many people are coming to the live.
Mindy, here, I'm going to put it in the chat. Mindy, I'm going to put it here in the chat for you. Let's see.
Oh, the link? Okay.
Yeah, Allison, can you give me rights to be able to put things in the chat?
Oh, do I have to do that? Okay, 1 second. Where do I give you those rights? Is the chat not looking like it's open? Are you able to put it there now?
No.
I'm not sure. I don't see that on the more where I can give you rights for that. Chat?
Here, Mindy, I'm gonna drop the link in Facebook Messenger directly to you.
Okay.
Okay.
And you can forward that to your friend.
Okay.
Because we want everybody to have a copy all the time.
Yes, we want everybody. I'm just sharing this out to everybody's timelines too that asked me to, from all groups and everything. I think since it is public, all of you guys can share it out to your pages too.
Yes, I just did. And also I received a comment that the chat is not open. So
the chat is not open on the live?
For people to make comments.
I am able to.
I don't see any setting for that. Yeah, I think that's interesting. I'm not sure. You're able to, Laura? Everything looks good?
Mm-hmm. I just popped something in the chat.
Oh. On the live video?
Yes, on your Facebook page.
Okay, okay. Still sharing out a few more people. Oh, looks like I can't share out anymore. I reached my maximum.
They will put you in Facebook jail.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I see your comment, Laura. If you guys are watching and tuning in, make sure to say hi.
Hello.
Hello. Do you have any questions for us before we get fully started? And I'll have it up here. Okay. So hi, everybody. It look like Mindy, is everybody able to see it now? Oh, I see Jenna just joined us. She's coming in the room. Woo! Hi, Jenna. So glad you made it. Hey! Is everybody on your side able to see it, Jenna? Is all your family and friends able to see the live?
I'm not really sure. A lot of my family and friends are in the Philippines, so it's 5 a.m. on their time.
Oh, okay. Maybe we'll see the next one.
No, yeah. Or a maybe.
So let's go ahead and get started if we can. Well, I think Megan is going to pop in a little bit later, and then Elise is probably going to be joining us in the clubhouse room around 5:30 CST. And if we want to introduce ourselves, we can go Mindy, Laura, Jenna, Lita, or that's the order that I'm seeing on my screen. I mean, we can go in any order if we want to go in that order, to give a quick intro about yourself and something interesting that a lot of people don't know about you. And we'll start with Mindy.
Oh boy, the pressure. So I'm Mindy Green, and I am a certified life and parenting coach. And I often say that I like to be the calm and the chaos that is life as a parent, and just in general, I'm just helping to go from survival mode to thriving and know that there is hope. So, and I'm supposed to say something that people may not know about me, huh? I grew up with dachshunds and I love them. They have such personalities, and we had the best dachshund in the world who just passed away a couple of years ago. And I'm hoping that my daughter will create and make a picture of him for me soon so I can have it up on the wall.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mindy. You want to go ahead, Laura?
Sure. Thank you, Allison. Thank you so much for hosting this. Hello, I'm Laura Wall, and I am a spiritual life coach and the co-founder of Hearts of Healing Center. It's a nonprofit organization, and our mission is to spread more light, love, healing, and hope in the world. Not only our local community, but also our global community. I do healing work as a guide. I'm also a speaker. And look at this, today I'm an author again. Something that people may not know about me, unless they just closely follow my Instagram, which I doubt, is I've written books before. I wrote my very first book at age 8. And it was called S is for Snake. And I was so proud of myself because not only did I write the book, I illustrated it. And then on the fly page, I guess I had the presence of mind. I wrote, written story by Laura, my maiden name Eccles, illustrated by Laura Eccles, and then published by Laura Eccles. So most people don't know, but I'm a publisher too. So glad to be here. Thanks, Allison.
Jenna, you want to go ahead? Thank you, Laura.
Hi. So, hi, everybody. I'm Jenna Zantua, and I am the founder of Digital and Boundless. We are a tech and automations implementation company or agency, and we work a lot with women in the online space. I work a lot with female founders, especially working with women of color. And what we do is we support you in your business in terms of anything tech and anything automations. If you have an online business and you want somebody to do the back end and set up your systems or operations, then that is something that we do. And okay, something not a lot of people know about me. I don't think I've posted a lot about the fact that I used to live in Russia for 2 years and now I'm here in Panama. So I've kind of like lived all over. And I really don't know where is the next country. So that really depends on my husband, who is the primary reason why we're here. And also the reason why I actually have an online business, because I need to be able to like take my business anywhere. And I have a 5-year-old girl, and so this is something that I have. This is a project that is close to my heart because I want to be able to show this to her when she's able to read, and also to really inspire her to also write her own book. Because so I have a book mentor and she's always told me that everybody has a story to tell, and so here we are.
Oh my gosh, I love that. My daughter's read the whole book already too, since she's very familiar with all of your stories, and she's 13, so I love that having, or like Laura and Elise were talking about on their live yesterday, which had so many key quotes and takeaways from it. I can't even quote all of them. One of them, they were talking about, how about pass this along, read it. I think it was you, Laura, that was saying, maybe read it and give it to a friend, keep passing it along to the younger generations. It's just so key and important. And I'll hand it over to Lita if she's able to, or if she's, I see.
Hey there. Yes, I am here and I'm sitting in our library because it seems the appropriate place to have a book launch. Add to the collection. So I'm Lita Vallis and I'm an artist living here in Austin for over 20 years. And something people don't know about me is that I used to make balloon animals for a living. In college, that's how I went through college, was I made balloon animals at birthday parties. And it actually is quite lucrative, or at least it was back in the day. I haven't been in the game for a while, but not a lot of people know that about me.
Yeah, I remember you had posted that on the Empire Life group one time, and I was like, wow, I am horrible at that. Like, it is, it is so hard. Like, it is.
It's harder than people think. Yeah.
I've tried to do some before for my daughter, and I'm like, forget this. Here, just take. Yeah, it's like, I don't know what this is, but take it. It's definitely an art.
A lot of fun. Yeah.
And I'll go ahead. So I'm Allison. I'm the founder of Empire Life and co-author this amazing, incredible book too that I have next to me, Redefine. And I'm going to get some more copies today. And I just checked right now too that I think it was 27 so far today have been sold. So that's really amazing. And I'm sure that it's going to keep going up from there with everyone. I've been getting a lot of support and a lot of messages like, I got it today. And if you do get those messages, put them in your stories or make sure to share those out. They're so inspirational and really keeping us all going today. Something that a lot of people don't know about me is, for a long time, I was in a basketball group, and I would describe it like the Harlem Globetrotters, but all girls. And So I did a lot of talent shows with the basketball tricks growing up. If people needed that, like in school, and with music, and sometimes with some of the other girls in the group, because we could throw them, we could do a lot of things together. There's tricks that you can do with two people too, and throw the balls and have it be in unison with the music and choreographed and everything with the tricks and the music. It was a lot of fun. And I could still do them in my age. It's like a lot of squatting to do it, but I still have a lot of fun doing it when I can get to the gym. I get a lot of joy out of still playing basketball and doing tricks. So that's something interesting. And we actually did in that group perform for college basketball teams in their halftime, and we did sometimes even the Harlem Globetrotters in their halftime shows. And so it was really cool to get to meet some of them and some of the basketball players as well on the college teams. I was always extremely inspired. One time we even got to meet the governor, I think, or the mayor, Ann Richards. She was on the court and we all got to shake her hand, and that was really memorable for me as a young girl. And so about me, this is my first time to be an author. I'm really excited. I've been excited all day. I could barely sleep last night. And a lot of you guys, like Lita and Laura, are second time best-selling authors today, hopefully. And in Empower Life is a tech and digital marketing company. And with our one-on-one clients, we're guiding them in their sales funnels, strategies, and structure, and Facebook ads, and everything in the back end that it takes to scale an online business. And I want to be able also to hand it over to each one of you to talk more in detail, like somewhat of a summary, or give us some background on your specific story, how you landed on that, why you decided to write what you wrote. And I know we've already heard a lot, or everybody's heard a lot about it, but it's different when they get to hear it from you. And also, I'm stopping myself. I'm so used to Clubhouse. Every time you guys talk, I want to flash my mic. Just wanted to throw that in there. But we can hand it over to Mindy to start.
You know, when this opportunity first came up, I wasn't really sure, what I would write about. And then it just came to me one day as I was kind of talking through things with my husband, and my chapter is called A Love Legacy. And it made so much sense because family has always been the core of everything that I did. Whether it was growing up, I grew up in a large extended family, and, our family events were a big deal, and that was just what was always ingrained in us, that family is everything. And so, so I just found that was like my foundation. And then that's something that I carried into raising my 4 children, and that it was just, we always came back to family and how important those connections are. And they're a springboard for so much more. And that really makes me think about the legacy that we are creating. And I think the ladies here know, but my son he bought the book, and it came to him on Monday. And so he took a picture of it and he sent it to me in Facebook Messenger. And he was just so proud of it. And, he had circled my name on the cover. And so I think, Jenna, you had mentioned about like your daughter and knowing that our stories are important, their stories are important. And so that's what I've learned, that I feel like I had a dream the other night that all of my family, both living and deceased, was surrounding me. And it's like, I just felt like this overflowing abundance of love coming toward me. And so it's like, it was just confirmation for me that is the legacy, is love, and letting people know how valuable they are to us.
Does anybody else want to add to that? Gosh, it was beautiful, Mindy. If anyone wants to add in, or was looking at if someone was trying to come in. If not, we'll move on to Jenna to talk a little bit more. Thank you, Mindy. I came from a very big family too, and we have very large get-togethers, and seems like there's babies born every month still right now. It's really beautiful to hear about, and for me to experience your story too. So we'll go to Jenna if anyone else wants to add something.
Oh, so I really had a difficult time at the beginning trying to connect my story to the whole book itself. Like, it's called Redefine, right? And then I had to think about like the moments that actually changed it for me in terms of, moving from my home country to another country, and then to another country, tagging along, having a baby. And, so all of that played into why I do what I do today. And, so for me, it was just really more about hopefully inspiring women to go after their stuff. I'm almost 40 next year. And so in my head, it was like, what can I do this year? Like, it's 2020, right? It was the pandemic, and it was actually for me the right time to write a book, or the right time to contribute to something or do something different. I've always known that I've wanted to be an author, and I wanted to write something. I just didn't know, or maybe I still have to have the guts to actually do it on my own. And so in my head, when this opportunity came, it was more like, all right, let me test the waters. Let me see what I can come up with. And it took me a while. I mean, Allison was like, hey, I need your book. I need your chapter. And I'm like, oh gosh, I still haven't finished it. And so for me, that was just that. My inspiration really is to just legacy and impact on the people that I will come across with, or the people in my life, like my daughter. And, so that's just really me having that change of mindset from scarcity to being boundless, being limitless as to what I can do as a woman, as a woman of color, actually, as somebody that was a stay-at-home mom for 2 years, and then here I am. I'm running my own company, and I'm just grateful for all the experiences that I've had in the past, because like our past experiences really help a lot in molding us to where we are right now. And so for me, that was these were moments that I put in the book that were pivotal towards like now so that's it for me.
It's incredible, Jenna. And you got it in. You did it. You went for it. It's all good. I just saw my family member commented, "Hi, daughter." So, okay, because I asked them try to comment and make sure that the comments are working. So hopefully they're working now, Mindy. And we can hand it over to Laura and then Lita to talk a little bit more about yourself, and then we'll dive in to some more questions.
Thanks, Allison. So for me, I was coming from the place of having just published a book. So when Allison offered me this opportunity, I was kind of like, oh, okay, I'm a little tired. Let me see if I can rest a little and gear up and do this. But as soon as she and I started talking, the title of my book just came straight in. And much like Mindy, I am someone that believes in the power of love and leaving that as a legacy. And like Jenna, I am definitely for, empowering women's voices. Historically, they've been suppressed for so long. Like I think about my grandmother, she wouldn't be able to do what we're doing today, right? That's 100 years ago. And now we're able to not only speak our truth and speak our stories into a book, it's able to get into the hands of other people in seconds. You just click a button on Kindle, and this is showing other women, what we've come from and the path forward. So we're encouraging them just by writing what we've written. And so when my story kind of came through, it wasn't necessarily about the yummy parts of my life about, love. It was about bullies. It was about the opposite. It was about people that were very, very unkind. But I knew that it was something I wanted to speak about because it had been life lessons for me for 2019. So every month for 2019, it felt like I was going to the boxing camp. And so every month I was duking it out with someone. And by 2020, I was a little tired, but like I said, I felt very committed to speaking up and speaking out. And I wanted to speak about what I'd learned in 2019, which was all about boundaries. And I felt like that's a very strong message that we need to learn the language around. We need to learn how to set appropriate boundaries for ourselves. And really, what could be more loving than setting those boundaries? Because that's the initial part of self-care, is saying, I'm worth it. I'm going to take time out from my business. I'm worth it. I'm not going to agree to that contract. I'm worth it. I'm not going to have you in my life. My story, my chapter, which is right after my very dear friend Lita Vallis's. We're arm in arm in the back of the book, and it is called All the Bullies I've Loved Before. And it's 3 short stories that I have extracted from it, the lessons that I learned and what I want to share with other women. And I hope it serves to give you some ideas as well as inspire you to get stronger and more clear with your boundaries, because that's a huge part of any business, any career, family. We need them everywhere. So thank you again, Allison, for this opportunity. And one more time, it's called Redefine. Go now. Kindle's open all day, all night.
Nice. Thank you, Laura. I completely agree. And I loved it too that you and Lita were back to back, because you guys had suggested that I do it in alphabetical order, and it worked out like that. You guys were back to back, and no coincidence there. And I'll hand it over to Lita to introduce herself.
Thank you. Yeah, that is a great coincidence. So my chapter is about perfectionism, which I know a lot of women struggle with, entrepreneurial women, and different generations of women have struggled with this, over the years. In my family, it's a generational struggle for sure. And, I'm almost 50, turning 50. And this time of quarantining and COVID and all this had me reflecting on my life, looking at where I've stopped myself from following my truest dreams. And when I was a child, I was always writing stories and poems. And I entered all kinds of young authors contests. I actually got first place in my school, I think 2nd or 3rd grade. One year I got first place, and one year I got 3rd place, and one year I got honorable mention, And so I was always just prolific and writing, and I wasn't attached to the judgment or the award. I was just doing it for the sake of doing it. And then somewhere along the line, I got caught up in the judgment of others and their opinion about my creativity. So I share a little bit of that in the chapter. I share a little bit of my kind of my childhood struggle and watching that creativity sort of morph into a concern about judgment. And then I just kind of lost a lot of that exuberance that we have as children. And so this past year of reflection has had me just revisiting those childhood passions, and without any concern or attachment to what other people think about them, I've been putting it out in the world for my own journey. It's really about me self-expressing, and what other people think of that is really not any of my business. So I've published, this is my second book during this past couple years. And also I've released some music, some songs that I've published on like Spotify and YouTube and Pandora and all those platforms as well. I have some songs that are out, and the response has been lovely and it's been wonderful. And yeah, I've just learned finally to let go of that attachment to what other people think about my creativity and my expression, that it's not good enough, or it's not professional, or it doesn't compare to somebody else. It's not about that anymore. So that's the liberation that I'm sharing in my chapter, and just encouraging others to also just release their passion and share themselves and do it for yourself, because really you're the most important member of your audience.
Yeah, jazz hands for sure. That's amazing, Lita. I relate so much to that. I'm sure we all do. And we can even go down the line if we would like and dive more into that, because I'm sure you guys felt that too when we asked for reviews from some of our loved ones even before today, to let them know what we had going on and give them like a sneak peek. And that felt really vulnerable. You know, some of you shared out to me like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna talk about it now. Like that, this is really happening. This is a thing. And it felt vulnerable to even ask for other people to look at our work. It's so easy to say, okay, I put this out there and then I'm gonna move on, or not ever put it out there. And think, when I was writing your newsletter for your chapter this last week, maybe like 10 to 15 women responded to me, oh, I've been thinking that, in response to what I said in your newsletter about, have you been thinking, well, I'll publish that course when it's perfect. Just need a little bit more time. And then I'll hire that coach when I've written everything. I'll publish that book and when I got it all written and it's perfect. And I hear that at least every other call also when I talk with prospective clients, and like, well, what about now? What about today? What about getting started, or starting like your song, Lita, the next step or the first step? What is it called? Is it exactly?
Yeah, it's called One More Step.
One more step. It's like it all comes back to that. This taking that first step, or hiring that coach, or starting the process of buying your domain for a website, and starting the process of writing, putting aside like 20 minutes a day to write every day for a year, like Elizabeth Gilbert talks about in her Big Magic book, one of my favorite books. And even if you just sit there and look at the wall, it is, you did that for yourself. And then eventually in those 20 minutes, the words will start flowing on the page. It'll start feeling less uncomfortable, but it can feel extremely uncomfortable when we're stepping outside of, I guess, that box or the norm, or all those feelings that start to come up also of, well, why me? And why do I need to get this out there? Or, well, another thing that I've heard a lot is there's already a lot of books, or, oh my gosh, everybody has an online course, or like, well, not you, you're different. You're unique to all of those. You don't know who's waiting in the wings, who needs to hear, even if they talk to you for 10 minutes on a call, like they needed to hear from you. And I'll hand it over to Mindy to talk a little bit more about that too. I would love to dive more into that topic.
You know, Allison, as you're talking about that, and Lita too, about just, you know, like, where does our creativity go? You know, we have these dreams as children, And I shared this story, I think when I was talking to Elise on her LinkedIn Live show, that I'd always wanted to write a book, so I would get like these wonderful, and to me, like having a blank notebook is like the most amazing thing, because you don't know what you're going to fill it up with, right? And so I was so excited whenever I would get one. And so I always wanted to write a book. So I think like one time I got to like 20 pages. I had written 20 pages and I'm like, oh, this is so wonderful. And then I was like, and then I didn't know where to go from there. And I'm like, this is harder than I thought. So, I set it aside, and it would be in the back of my mind, it's like, yes, I want to write a book. I want to write a book. And then what would come alongside that is like, well, what would you write about? I went from having a career as a school social worker to then being at home with my kids for 20 years, 18 to 20 years, and homeschooling and things like that. And so I felt like if what I had to say, would that resonate with another mom, maybe who had a career. And, so it's like I allowed all those things to kind of they were like little seeds of doubt, and I gave them fertile soil. And so it's not, as Jenna had said, it's not as easy as you think, because it's like I kept sitting down to write, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna, what's 4,000 words or whatever it was, and I was like, it's a lot. And so, I was so happy when it finally, like you said, Allison, just flowed. I was like, oh, thank goodness, because then I got into the rhythm, and and then it came and it just appeared before me. I'm like, oh. And so when I hit submit, I did it with such a sense of relief, but also that like uncertainty of like, oh, I don't know. Okay, here we go.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing, Mindy. I completely agree. And in something for me, I edited, and well, there was 3 editors that went through all of your stories, and then I also edited them all before I gave my own personal story a lot of attention. It's like that came first. It was almost as if I was saying, oh, I'll finish all these other things and then I'll get to mine. And then I realized that was me also having some resistance coming up with being vulnerable to my own story. I'll hand it over to Jenna to talk more about that.
Oh, okay. Oh, a lot of like interesting stories from you ladies. For me, I talk a lot about transformation and also changing mindsets, and just basically mapping out whatever it is that you want to achieve. And you guys are right in saying you just got to do it. You just got to make that decision, and you just have to just take that first step. I'm a planner, so I like to lay it out. Like, I like my checklist and all of that stuff. But really, when it came down to the writing itself and really digging deep memories of, going back to the past and just talking about that, for me, it was not only therapeutic, but it was also more so also fun documenting it finally. It's not just in my head now. It's now written down in a book, and it's something that could potentially inspire somebody else to do the same, or so basically that's it. I had no expectations whatsoever for our book at all. It was just basically, I was doing it for me. I was really doing it for me. I wasn't even, I'm not expecting people to just go ahead and buy it or something or whatnot. Like, I'm gonna buy. I'm gonna give it out. I'm gonna give it out to friends and family. But really, it was really more so a little bit of, it's even selfish. because like I was doing it for me. I was doing it so I could tell the world that I'm a published author, and so that I could finally say that I've lived one of my childhood dreams of being an author. And because of this project, I've actually written, so my original plan was to write a children's book, but I've only written down one, and then I'm writing another one, and it's co-authored by my daughter because she has like a lot of imagination. And so this was really something that I hope to be able to publish soon with her as well. So we're finishing at least 2 more stories to put it together. And I've seen how much work, Allison, you've done. Everybody just contributed so much in this project, and just the editing alone and the socials and all that other stuff. There's so much that goes into self-publishing and publishing. And I think that that's something that was also new to me, for me to see, like the actual, like, you know, process of you being able to just like logistically organize everything, every single thing. So thank you, Allison, for giving us the opportunity to do this for ourselves, right? And I'm so excited. I'm here in Panama, so it takes a while for my it will take a while for my copy to get here, but it will get here. So I'm it probably be getting my copy next week. So I'm excited to read all about all the other stories of female founders and women in this book.
Thank you, Jenna. And Lita, do you want to expand on anything that we were talking about? Go into more detail?
Yeah, I would just like to encourage anybody listening, you know, if you have something inside of you like this, and you've been sitting on it for a while, or waiting, you know, till you were better at it, or till it was more professional or anything like that, a great way to nudge yourself is to do it with your friends. Like you alluded to earlier, you know, this has been a great experience, partially because of what I've created as my self-expression, but a lot of it is doing it in a group. You know, if you have friends who are up to similar things or interested in creating something, you know, ask for help, ask for support, do it together. It makes it a lot more fun, and it can nudge you more easily in the direction of your dreams when you are creating it with your friends and other people in your life who can support you and you can support them. It adds this new element to it. So once again, just thank you to you, Allison, for rallying the troops on this one. It's made it a joy and a pleasure to go through this process, which for years I've stopped myself from doing alone. It was too much work to do it alone. But in collaboration, it has been, the blessing has been I've done it, and also made some new friends along the way, and strengthened the friendships that I already had as we create together. So just encouraging anybody who's needing that, you know, extra oomph to go out and follow your dreams. Get with some other women, get with your people, and do it together. It really lessens the burden and increases the joy.
I second that. There was a lot of times, or late nights, that I was doing things for this amazing book, and you all also kept me going. And I'm gonna start crying. Like that was when it came to me, and I think it was the beginning of March 2020, to do a collaborative project like this. I had no idea how it was going to flow or what it was going to look like. I did know this is it. This is how I'm going to put my story and these other women's stories into the world. And I had been wanting to write a book for like 7 years before that. And a lot of resistance came up for me around doing it solo. It's just like you were saying, Lita. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what the resistance was. It just felt like, no, it's next time, not yet, not now. And then when it came to me in March 2020, at the beginning of March, it was like, oh, this feels good. Like you said, it felt joyous. It felt like meant to be. This is going to come to fruition, and it will unfold with everybody as it comes into life itself. And I'll hand it over to Laura a little bit more.
Thank you, Allison. Yeah, I'd love to speak to some of what's already been put in the room, put out in the world. So I just want to tell everybody, newsflash, they're not going to write any more love songs. That's it. All of the love songs that have ever needed to be written are done. And so we don't need any more ooh baby babies. We don't need any more yeah, yeah. We don't need oh honey, honey. We're done with that. And this is what I tell people that I work with when I coach them, because they express the same fears that we have all had. They worry about the perfectionism. They worry about the next step, and they think their voice isn't valid. They think that because someone else has already done it, that they shouldn't do it again. But if you love music like I do, I love Sinatra, and then I like Bublé doing Sinatra. Like, I like the remakes. I like hearing it in a different voice. I like seeing it phrased differently. And we need that exposure to that variety. I kind of think of having a book come to the world like a baby. So I'm a non-breeder. I don't have kids. And so this to me was like a baby. So you kind of gestate with it. And so sometimes you're like, kind of what you said, Mindy, like you're just kind of sitting there, like nothing's coming, you know, like nothing's working. You're like, and I've heard this from other moms, pregnancy brain, like you can't think, but you stay with it. You stay. And then when the baby's born, you know, you've got that fear of, you know, pushing it around the stroller and someone saying, oh, that's an interesting looking baby. You know, you've made this beautiful creation that you want to share with the world, and you love it. You just love it because you love it, which I was going to say to Jenna, you know, what we're doing, hell yeah, it's selfish, but selfish doesn't have to be a bad word. Like, to me, we are self-enhancing. We did this for ourselves, but we're also doing it for others. And so, you know, when we push that little baby around and show off our book and show off our stories, it's because we did it because we love ourselves, we love what we're doing, and we want to make an impact. We want to help others. So you've got to do what Lita says in her song. You just have to start with that first step. One more step. You know, we get really caught up in, well, how am I going to get it published? And who's an editor? And should I join a group? Should I do it alone? We get caught up in so many of the steps ahead of us, as opposed to just like sitting down with the first step. And then, like Lita was expressing, and all you've expressed, you know, if you get a little stuck, you move on to the next step. You ask for help, you look around. And if it's something you're meant to do and you're looking and you're open, you're going to find a girl gang like we found, or you're going to find a buddy to go off to a retreat and write with. You're going to find the help that you need. And so I am encouraging all of you out there, if there's something that's in your heart that you know you're meant to do, just work on it a little bit. Ask for love and support with it. Keep looking for its place in the world. And if you're thinking about writing, all of them have expressed that they kind of stopped themselves. I think I've been thinking about writing a book probably for 10 years. And I finally started writing 4 years ago on my birthday. That was my gift to myself, was to devote 33 minutes for 33 days just to be with the page. I wasn't attached to what was going to come out. I wasn't trying to write a book. I was trying to develop the practice of pushing out all the noise and all the naysaying voices, and just hear that voice come in. That voice, you know, from my childhood that just did things naturally, or that wise voice that had learned some lessons from a bad boyfriend. You know, you've got to, that's the thing, is the first step is just saying yes to yourself. So I will yield the floor over to Miss Allison, and welcome Megan. I see that you've joined us. Yay.
Hi. Yay, thank you, Laura. Yeah, welcome, Megan. I'm so glad you were able to join us. I love your glasses, your background. It's been a while since I've seen you. Your hair's different, looks really great. So also, I was going to say that we can go, if you would like, where we can go for 30 more minutes if you guys are able to stay on here on this live, and then we'll go live on Instagram around 4:30 CST. Does that work for everybody?
When we go live on Instagram, are you just doing that though with one person?
Yeah, just I think I can only bring on one person from what I understand with Instagram. Does anybody know that?
But then I just have to hop off to get the kiddos.
Yeah, let's go for another 20 minutes, and then we can give a 10-minute break, a stretch, and then if you can, to make it to the Instagram live. I'm the same, like at Allison RMSY on Instagram, if you guys are watching this live. And we're going to be doing that from 4:30 to about 5:30, and then 5:30 we'll be on Clubhouse for probably 3 to 4 hours. And you guys don't have to stay, of course, for the whole time. We'll be there as people hop on so they can introduce themselves to us in Clubhouse. And are you going to be able to make that, Megan, for some of it?
I will definitely try.
Okay, no problem. So I want to I understand. I want to hand it over to you to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us something that most people don't know about you.
Sure. So hi, everyone. I'm Megan Corey. I am a mom of 2 little boys, and I started my own business 2 years ago. And the story that I kind of chose to write about in my chapter was really about like how I went from like trying to live that safe and the safe, secure life of, having a stable job and like having the kids and having everything laid out, and then being like, this isn't what is meant for me. It wasn't my purpose. It was a perfectly fine job, but I really wanted to do something else. And that's where I saw myself able to thrive and kind of get my mojo back and become more of me. I love to have fun, and I wasn't really having as much fun. So being able to get more of me back, be more present with my kids and my family, and just having more fulfillment, I just thrive on that. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell. And something people don't know about me is, even though I'm a wellness coach, well-being coach, I love to work with busy professionals. I work on, team building, connection, resilience, but I also love to golf and smoke a cigar and drink bourbon. So, people are like, hey, you're a health coach. How does that work? I'm like, it's all about balance and lifestyle. So I'm all about building healthy habits, and it doesn't always have to be 100%, but you still have to have a good time, because if you're not having a good time, then what's life all about? So that's my little thing that people are usually, what? So nice to meet everyone.
Yeah, I like to share a cigar and drink whiskey and play golf too.
We got to do that sometime. I'll come down to Austin.
Yeah, for sure. And so also, Megan, before you came on, and I'm so happy that you're here now. We were talking also about going more into detail on Lita's story, and she was sharing out how we all really related to the overcoming and flowing through perfectionism and what those voices feel like. And can you share a little bit about that when you were writing your story, or some experiences on that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know if it's just as females, as moms or whatever, we always think that everything has to be like something, right? We picture this and we visualize it, and maybe it's this, society things or things ingrained in our brain, things we see around us. We're always like, oh man, it has to be this way. And then we stress ourselves out about it time and time again. We don't sleep or feel like we have to do it all and do it all right. And then you get into a point where you almost feel like you're doing nothing right. At one point I felt like I wasn't doing good at my job. I wasn't being a good mom, wasn't being a good wife, and then not even a good, business owner. So I was like, what does it all have to be? And you realize you're like, no, there is no perfect work-life balance, right? But it's what works best for you. And that's something I think over the past 2 years, a lot of self-development, a lot of listening to podcasts, a lot of reading books, and just figuring out and taking time and pausing and like reflecting and seeing what is important. Not all of this is important. And we stress ourselves out by making everything important. Meanwhile, we're like, that doesn't really matter. So just prioritizing, reflecting, pausing, taking steps back, being more aware of where my time was going. Once I realized that, I felt like it was a huge shift to, you know what, I just need to get things done. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be perfect. The 100% doesn't need to be there. If I'm 80, I'm good, and be happy with that and be okay with that. And you know what? Not only with myself, but I tell my kids the same thing, is like, just do your best. If you're always doing your best, you're always trying, no matter what it is, and just finding those priorities. And everything can't be our priority. And we notice that when we start seeing ourselves depleting, or we're depleted, that affects everybody else. But when we're filling our own cup up first, how we're able to enjoy and be fulfilled and be able to take care of others as moms, as wives, as, somebody partnering in business, whatever it may be, we're better when we're focused on that first. And just knowing that, like, you know what, and that's a part of something I wrote in my chapter, was just start. Like, nothing has to be perfect, whatever it is, whether it's like a business, whether it's just starting a new program to get yourself healthier, whether it's whatever it may be, just start. And then, you know what, figure it out along the way. It's not going to look good. It's not going to look perfect. But if you always think about it has to look great, or you're going to be overwhelmed, and you might stop before you even start.
So much wisdom in that, Megan. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, Eliane. I'm glad you were able to join us. We were saying we were going to go till 4:20, and then we're hopping over at 4:30, give like a 10-minute break to stretch, get something to drink. And I'm so glad that you made it over here. So we were introducing ourselves, Eliane, a little bit, and saying something that most people don't know about you. So we'll hand it over to you.
Oh, okay. I feel very unprepared. So thanks for bearing with me. Yes. So I am super honored. It was so much fun to be able, I know that I have a book inside me, and this gave me a little bit of a taste. And so that felt really, really cool to just, I think I was watching on Facebook before, and I heard Laura say this, how you started a while ago, started writing your book. And I feel like this was my moment where it was like, okay, just force, like, you have a deadline, you have to submit something, so just do it. And so that felt really great to just like finally put my foot in the water and just stop like testing the temperature and just like put my legs in there. And that felt really, really good. And I was glad though when you reduced the word count, because I felt very overwhelmed. And it gave me though like a really realistic idea of what writing an entire book could look like. So that was actually probably my favorite. I'm looking forward to reading everyone's story as a whole, right? The entire story in the book. But I think that the process of doing it is what helped me grow the most. I don't know if anyone else can relate to that, like just the writing process and the like, I don't know, it was like a roller coaster. It was a bit of like a lot of emotions. So yeah, something that you might not know about me. Geez, I was actually thinking about that recently because I'm kind of rethinking a whole new content strategy. And I was like, okay, what is the thing that I don't want to talk about? And that might be the thing that will help me relate to my audience the most, right? And so there's a lot of things that I'm thinking about. And I want to dive deeper into insecurities that we have as women. Writing this whole chapter helped me see like just being so real with myself and giving myself so much like grace about what it is, like what those insecurities, you know, how they influence our behavior, and how to just like forgive ourselves for all the mistakes that we may have made, or, you know, the people that we let into our lives because of these insecurities and how they affected our business in the end, right? So I want to talk about that. And I feel that like, you know, for women, self-image, right? The way that we look, all those things, the way that our skin looks, our body weight, our, you know, like all those things are constantly scrutinized. And that's something that I'm super insecure about. And I am hoping to be more courageous about like just sharing those things online So yeah, that's a little bit of a secret. I'm dipping my toes. I put my account on Instagram on private recently. I removed all of my male followers. My follower count went down by half, by 50%. But I'm like, you know what? Like this is what I want. I want to create a space for me to be able to explore that a little bit more, because it's very hard for me to like really open up about it. So you guys are kind of like the first to know, to like, I'm expressing it to you guys for the first time that like I want to explore that a little bit more transparently and vulnerably. So so yeah, I think this was a great kickstarting way to dive into that.
That's incredible, Elle. Does anybody want to add to what Elle said?
You are placing your wish with the universal catalog right now.
I am. I absolutely. I felt like that, you know, I was not expecting this. And like I said, I was very unprepared and I just let the words kind of flow out through me. And if this is what comes out, I trust that like this is the moment for me to put it out into the universe. So you're absolutely right. Thank you.
And I think a lot of people think that, kind of like what Mindy was speaking to, like, oh, well, once you sit down and start writing, you just write everything out. And everybody's process is different. You know, some people write it in chunks, some people stay up late at night, some people go off to a cabin, some people write it in 5 minutes on the back of envelopes and then collect all of those and throw them in a folder. And, you know, the first step though is thinking about it. You know, it starts cogitating up here and you're thinking about it. And then you check in with your heart and your heart's like, yes, go. And your gut says, oh my God, it's scary, hold on. And so you've got to get the whole body on board. And then the way that you know that, for me, that I know it's going to happen is when it comes out of my mouth. When I'm able to express it to the world, it used to be I'm making a contract with, like, I'm telling people, oh, I've got to keep my word to everyone. Nope, not anymore. Now it's, I've said it out loud. That means it's important to me. That means I believe I should do it. I've made the contract with me. I've said it, so I need to follow through with me. I need to honor what I've said. And so that to me is like a really powerful part of this creation process, because it can stay in our body and we can think about it. We can dance around the subject. We can cry about it over wine, like, oh, I'll never get my book done. I don't know when it's going to happen. This is not the year. It's locked down and there's just no access to things. And is that really true? But yeah, once you put it into your voice out loud, that's the first step. And then the next steps sometimes are physically writing it out as an affirmation, or putting, you know, a vision board together, or Pinterest, or starting to speak to it on Instagram. And it's so funny you mentioned that, Eliane, because I am starting a book writing group. I'm going to participate in one. And my journey for writing started on my birthday 4 years ago. And I was like, you know what? I've done 2 collaborative books. You know, I'm going to take my floaties off. I'm going to go jump off the deep end. And I'm ready to do my own. And so I decided, what did you learn from the other ones? Do it with people you like, you know, do it in community, get support, get a coach, get help, you know. And so I decided to do that. And I found a program, and the confirming point was, it's going to start on my birthday. And so what I plan to do on my birthday is I'm going to tell my husband, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to start telling people, and I'm also going to put it on the social media, and I'm going to say, hey, I want you to hold me accountable. Would you check in with me and ask me how my book's going? Because that is a social contract that uses that influence, and that it's a very positive way to set boundaries for yourself, as well as to use peer pressure for positive effects. So if someone goes, how's your book going? Then I'll be like, oh, I got to be honest, it's going really shitty. I'm really stuck right now. You never know. Having those kind of real conversations at a coffee shop with a friend, they might say, oh, well, I have a friend that's a book coach. Oh, I have a friend that's an editor. I have a friend that wrote a book last year. Maybe you want to talk to her. So it's when we express that vulnerability, or when we express that wish, that's when everything starts conspiring to try to help us out. And we find resources that we didn't even know we had. Just like Allison, you know, she reached out to me and she's like, do you want to do this? The first time she came, I was like, no, I'm good. The second time I'm like, okay, all right, finally. And yeah, knowing I was doing it in a group with other women, knowing Allison's, you know, tremendous work ethic and her desire to elevate women and use her platforms to raise women's voices, you know, in social media, out in the world. That was a big deciding factor for me. And that's where it starts, making that verbal commitment. So sorry, Allison, I took away, I think I ran away with your show.
Oh no, you can
you
keep going. I love it.
it.
You're doing great. Thank you. That was, and I appreciate your kind words. I received those. Thank you for that. And you know, something that was coming up for me, well, like you guys were talking about, as you sit down to write these stories and how vulnerable it feels and all the memories that start flooding in. I know Laura had talked about that before with me offline, and I think you and Elise talked about it on yesterday on your live, about there was some time that you took out of your day, or you, for maybe even a few weeks, to kind of process and live, because we're living it all again. And as we don't realize sometimes that there's some resentment that might come up, or that we need to let go of, and self-forgiveness and forgiveness of those people. And I know when we were going through this, I had also talked about making sure that when we did include somebody in our story, we were looking at it in a lens of, how did this serve me, support me, and benefit me in my life, as opposed to coming from it from a victim, because none of us are victims in our story. All those people that we talked about, either in a positive light or in a way that we learned from that situation, they were meant to be on our path, cross our path, and guide us to, or nudge or guide to exactly where we were meant to go. And that's it. I'm grateful for myself too, and everything that I shared out with. And I did have some really vulnerable conversations with some of the people that I included in my personal chapter of, is this okay? Do you like the way I worded this? Are you feeling heard and seen? To make sure that everybody felt supported, that I talked about as well in my story. Something I was going to share that was coming up for me, and we're almost out of time, but we can also share if someone else has a childhood story, is that you guys were saying something about girl gang, and I hadn't even connected it together, that my best friend and I, when I was in elementary school, she said, I want to start a girl group. Like, we're going to get together on our streets, on like the 3 streets that we lived on. And we were going to go to everybody's house and bring all the girls together that lived on these 3 streets, or close together, so we could just walk and have this kind of girl gang meetup. And we got together, we did puppet shows and sold tickets for those, and other like lemonade stands, all kinds of different events that I mostly planned out in the group. And the first meeting that we had, I remember we were all sitting on my driveway, and we did a vote for officers, who was going to be we had no idea what we were doing, but it was reminding me of that story, how that's something that's been in my life for a long time, of bringing women together, girls together, to play and be joyous. And you know, like, community, it's extremely important in our life. And I'll hand it over if maybe something came up as you guys were listening to my story.
Don't leave us hanging for the officers and who got voted in as president. We're so curious.
I don't want to boast myself too much. I did.
Facts are not boasting. No fake apologies.
Well, what happened, actually, I usually prefer to be in the background. And I know that sounds strange. I know, like, people oftentimes pull me into that leadership role. And I was really wanting my best friend to be in the leadership role in that time, because it was her idea to bring all the girls together, and then we both made it happen together. So she was standing up on the driveway and saying, I want things to happen like this. And then we all voted, and they were like, no, can we add Allison to the vote too? And I was like, no, not me. No, it's her. It was her idea. And I told all of them, no, like, that's her thing. And she pulled me to the side in the meeting, she's like, look, I think they really want you to do this. I don't mind. I'm like, are you sure though? I don't want to step on your toes. I know that I want to give you credit for this because you're the main reason why all this came together. And she was like, I am cool as a vice president. You take it. It's yours. And then so that was that was how it happened. She was the vice president and we organized all the events together.
That's so cute. I definitely was the ringleader as well as being an introvert. And somehow I also fell into that ringleader role with my friends as a child. We would also organize events. Our favorite was Spice Girl concerts. And we would go door to door asking for money because we needed costumes, obviously, to look like the Spice Girls. So I like that really resonates with me when you're talking about that, because I really feel like it's the entrepreneurial spirit. Like it was the dedication. We had no idea what we were doing, but it was just like the fun of getting these girls together and then just planning it out. And like, I don't know, I feel like it's a little bit the same today, right? Like we don't know, we just have this drive. We want to do something, we want to have fun, we want to connect with other people that like doing what we do. So I like I feel like I've been reconnecting. I think 2020, because of the quarantine and like lockdown and all that, helped me actually reconnect with that little side of me, like the little girl who liked going door to door and saying like, hi, we're putting on a show in our yard, we need money for costumes. like what girl, like I always had little projects like that. And yeah, I want to reconnect with that more and more. I think it's so much fun and it helps me find new and creative ways in my own business. So I think we should do that. I don't know if there's a lady in here maybe that like does this kind of thing that touches on like childhood. I don't know what all of y'all do, but
I have a friend who's a coach, and she her coaching style is called Return to Your Wild. And it's all about returning to your inner child and really bringing that part of you forward. But I was just thinking of your story, Eliane. I did the same. I wasn't an introvert, I was an extrovert, but I had a girl gang and we didn't know what we were doing. And we, you know, okay, this person has really good grass in their backyard, so that's where we're gonna have the dance and the production. And I was super bossy, of course. And but I loved your story because I'm listening to it and I'm like, why don't we do things that way? Where we just gather our friends together and go, I've got a good idea. And then I don't really know how I'm going to do it. We're just going to figure it out as we go along. We get so caught up in like, okay, we got to do it the right way. Or this guru on this YouTube channel said, this is the way you write a book. You know, if we just did it for fun and we just, I mean, like that was the original GoFundMe. You're knocking on the door like, I need pre-funding. Like you were getting angel investors. Hello. So cool. So cool. But yeah, that was a very encouraging story to hear you say, because it's like, yeah, we need to shed out some of our grown-upness and go back to that youthful, younger version of us that could just sit and write and didn't care what anyone thought, or create things and we just did it for the joy of it. And we just, you know, muddled our way through it. And we weren't really worried about the result. We were worried about the fun that we were having while we were going along. So thanks for bringing that to the table.
Yeah, I think that I believe that the more fun we can have in our business, the more ease. Like there'll always be challenges, but it makes those challenges, I don't know, it helps us get a totally different perspective. So that's a good mission for us. That should be like our 2021 mantra. Just bring back the inner child in business.
Or I think maybe for the next girl gang that Allison organizes, it's got to be fun or it won't be done.
I agree. I'm totally, there's already 3 ladies enrolled in series 2, and I haven't even started thinking about it at all. There's ladies starting to come in the wings and ready to start the series 2 girl gang. And something that I was reminded of when you guys were talking was I was given like this tape recorder when I was little. I think I was about 6 or 7, where you put a cassette tape and then you could record yourself and play it back. And I started like a radio show, and we would have intermission, and then my friends would say, I want to be on the show this week. And there was like a list that we would I had organized the list that we would be having of who was on there, and then the girls that were not on it, they would need to play music and they would need to hold a light. So we would do like this disco thing when turn off all the lights and have different colored flashlights and be dancing in the intermission. Okay, it's dance time. And then come back to the show. It was a lot of fun.
You were podcast YouTubing before it was a thing. You're such a trendsetter.
Mindy and Lita, did you guys want to add to that before we wrapped up? Any childhood
what else
story?
could we add, right? I mean, it was amazing. I almost
Yeah,
had
you nailed it. You nailed it.
Oh. You don't want to add? Do you have something else to add onto that, or Lita? I know Lita. She is. I don't know, Eliane, if you've heard, she just came out with a whole album, and she's a singer songwriter too. And I admire your creativity so much, Lita. Wanted to say that.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate it.
Is there anything that anybody wants to add before we wrap up and go over to Instagram?
I need to keep some stories for Instagram.
Oh, okay.
So let you guys wrap up.
I just ordered some more copies too while we were on here. I have a few next to me. And I'll talk to everybody soon. And Eliane, are you good with at 35 so we can have a little bit of a break?
Oh yeah, sure. Let's do a little break.
Okay, perfect. I will see everybody soon. And then on Clubhouse around 5:30 CST. I'll talk to you guys soon.